Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And we'll attempt to share the screen. It's in Asia. See what we have today. First topic is the publisher's desk, our daily modes of consciousness. Ancient texts teach us a way to comprehend the mysteries of mind, giving 4 fundamental states of consciousness. So I've noticed in Gurudeva's way of writing, which I follow that writing, we don't quote a lot from scripture. We're not basing our talk on scripture that much. We do make references here and there to scripture, but lots of Hindu teachers, what they're talking about is heavily based on scripture, so I thought I'd try that one. This was back in 2021. Present a talk heavily based on scriptures for those who like scriptures. The popular view of Hinduism describes a religion centered around ceremonies drawn from the ancient Vedas and Agamas, rites meant to invoke the presence of divinity through different deities. So that's the popular view of Hinduism. Popular view is very much focused on ceremony. Hindu is a religion of ceremony. And the question for you, what deeper teachings does that leave out? Definitely more to Hinduism than just ceremony. That description, however, leaves out Hinduism's deepest teachings, such as its ancient insights regarding the mind's 4 states of consciousness. So, as this talk will show, Hindu scripture, thousands of years ago, is talking about the states of consciousness. Something that didn't pop up in modern thought until last 100, 150 years perhaps, talking about the mind and the states of consciousness. So Hindu scripture thousands of years ago is talking about states of consciousness. The oldest writing that contains the states of mind is the Chandogya Upanishad, variously dated around the 8th to 6th century BCE. Oh, that's a long time ago, over 2,000 years ago. Most will be amazed that over 2,500 years ago, India's rishis were revealing insights on the states of consciousness experienced by human beings. Same ideas are expanded on in 12 verses of the Chandogya Upanishad, dated around 7 centuries later, still almost 2,000 years ago. These 4 modes of mind, called avastha in Sanskrit, are jagrat, or vaishvanara, wakefulness; svapna, dreaming; sushupti, deep sleep; turiya, the 4th, superconsciousness or samadhi. So wakefulness, dreaming, deep sleep, and superconsciousness. 4 modes of consciousness, avastha. Wikipedia contributor makes this comment on these teachings from the Upanishads. Distinctions and types of awareness appear in the ancient thought of India, influenced by Hinduism. A central idea of the Upanishads is the distinction between a person's transient mundane self and their eternal unchanging soul. Divergent Hindu doctrines and Buddhism have changed this hierarchy of selves, but have all emphasized the importance of reaching higher awareness. Yoga is the range of techniques used in pursuit of this goal. Let's look at each of these 4 states in more detail. So how would you describe wakefulness? What is the wakeful state of consciousness? Wakefulness. In the waking state, the Atman or soul has a limited sense of self and is conscious of and experiences external objects. So that's very simple. We're looking totally without, experiencing the external world. Wakefulness. How would you describe dreaming? Dreaming. In the dreaming state, the Atman has the same limited sense of self, while being conscious of and experiencing his mental landscape and the astral world. So we know what dreaming is. So we're not aware of the external world at all. We're aware of our own mental creations and of the astral world sometimes. How would you describe deep sleep? That's easy. Deep sleep. In dreamless sleep, so it's dreamless, awareness objects is absent. Some of the limited self-sense is overcome and a deeper peace is experienced. So we all know that if we manage to experience deep sleep at night, it's more refreshing. Deeper peace is experienced. How would you describe superconsciousness? Superconsciousness. In the 4th state, the Atman abides in its full spiritual nature. Then the individual is omnipresent without any sense of something existing apart from him. So omnipresence is the deepest aspect of superconsciousness, Satchit Ananda. We can think of this as living in a house with 3 rooms, one for wakefulness, one for dreaming, and a third for deep sleep. As long as we remain in the house, our consciousness is limited. However, if we step outside, there's a little X stepping outside there, we can remove this limitation and experience ourselves as omnipresent consciousness. The first two verses of Chandogya Upanishad, translated by Swami Nikhilananda, present this idea of oneness in the terms of Atman, Brahman, and Om. Verse 1, Om, the word, is all this, i.e. the whole universe. Clear explanation of it is as follows. All that is past, present, and future is indeed Om. And whatever else there is beyond the threefold division of time, that also is truly Om. Verse 2, all this is indeed Brahman. This Atman is Brahman. The same Atman has 4 quarters. Statement, the Atman is Brahman, in Sanskrit is I am Atma Brahma, and is one of the 4 Mahavakya, or 4 great statements of the Upanishad, declaring the oneness of Atman and Brahman. The Mundaka Upanishad states that Om can be used as a means of realizing this oneness. Om is the bow. The Atman is the arrow. Brahman is said to be the mark. It is to be struck by an undistracted mind. Then the Atman becomes one with Brahman as the arrow with the target. How would you explain the idea of Om being the bow, drawing from Gurudeva's teachings? How is Om the bow, the way the Atman gets to Brahman? Certainly one way of utilizing Om as a bow is through its repetition as a mantra, a practice of japa yoga. Gurudeva explains this practice in the Cognizant Ability Resource section of his book, Merging with Shiva. Seventh aphorism. To aid in the depolarization and transmutation of creative forces, certain mantras are chanted. These logically concentrate the conscious mind, harmonize its subconscious, and magnetize the brain. This draws the creative forces from the instinctive to the intellectual and superconscious regions. So that's inwardly what happens in chanting traditional mantras. 71st aphorism. The letters A, U, and M, when correctly chanted, transmute the instinctive to the intellectual and the instinctive intellectual to the superconscious. Direct cognition will then be attained. Gurudeva comments on this aphorism. Om is a universal mantra which can be performed safely by the initiated and the uninitiated alike, under any condition, in any circumstance, whether the body is clean or dirty. It will heighten consciousness by harmonizing the physical with the mental and the spiritual when chanted correctly. Gurudev explained that for the repetition of Om as a mantra to be effective, the mantra must be pronounced correctly. The first syllable is Ah, pronounced as the English word Ah, but prolonged, Ah. Second syllable is U, as in roof, pronounced Oo, but prolonged, Oo. Third syllable is M, pronounced with the front teeth gently touching and the sound prolonged, Each repetition is sounded for about 7 seconds, with 2 seconds on Ah, 2 seconds on Oo, and 3 seconds on with a silence of about 2 seconds before the next repetition. The 3 syllables are run together, Ah, Oo, Ah, Oo, Ah, Oo, On the first syllable, Ah, we feel the solar plexus and chest vibrating. On the second syllable, Oo, the throat vibrates. The third syllable, vibrates the top of the head. The Chandogya Upanishad draws a clear connection between the quarters of Om and the 4 modes of consciousness, supporting Gurudeva's idea of using the parts of Om to move to more subtle levels of being. Vaishvanara Atman, whose sphere of activity is the waking state, is Ah, the first letter of Om, on account of his all-pervasiveness or on account of his being the first. He who knows this obtains all desires and becomes first among the great. Taijasa Atman, whose sphere of activity is the dream state, is U, the second letter of Om, on account of his superiority or intermediateness. He who knows this attains a superior knowledge, receives equal treatment from all, and finds in his family no one ignorant of Brahman. Prajna Atma, whose sphere is deep sleep, is third letter of Om, because both are the measure and also because in them all become one. He who knows this is able to measure all and also comprehends all within himself. The fourth, turiya, is without parts and without relationship. It is the cessation of phenomena. It is all good and non-dual. This Atman is verily, this Om is verily Atman. He who knows this merges the self and Atman. Yea, he who knows this. In cognizability, when Gurudeva mentions moving from the instinctive to the intellectual mind, speaking of raising our state of consciousness. For example, fear is a negative emotion that we can rise above through a few minutes of chanting Om. We can move from an agitated state of mind to a peaceful one in the same way. Anger can be transmuted into forgiveness as well, all through the power of Om. If an individual is in a negative state of consciousness, he can move to a positive one. Chanting the mantra Om is only one of many practices that Hinduism gives us for accomplishing this. Gurudeva points out elsewhere in Merging with Shiva, generally people take problems too personally by identifying closely with them. When they experience anger, they are angry. When they experience bliss, they are blissful. How can we avoid taking problems too personally by identifying closely with them? Is the question for you. And important part of Gurudeva's teachings. The mystic identifies with the experiencer, says Gurudeva, instead of the experience. He sees himself as pure awareness that travels in the mind. When he is in San Francisco, he is not San Francisco. Similarly, when he is in anger, he is not anger. He says to himself, I am pure energy. I am the spiritual energy that floods through mind and body. I am not the mind, the body, or the emotions. I am not the thoughts. I think or the experiences I experience. Thus he molds a new identity of himself as a free being who can travel anywhere in the mind. Such a person is always at the top of the mountain. And for our Shum scholars, if any are present, what is the Shum word for the ability to travel anywhere in the mind? It's dibonif. But first I need to define namutana, because it's in the explanation. The first, namutana is the first experience of the fifth dimensional inner light. So that word is in the definition of dibonif, and the definition of dibonif is awareness, fluid and free from fear, flowing. The area of the mind of fluid awareness that one has after namutana, when dibonif is cultivated. Awareness can move quickly in any direction. Thus mental arguments with others or with oneself do not occur. This is a useful portrait to master. Missing a T there. So dibonif is the Shum word for flowing freely through all states of consciousness. Continuing with Gurudeva, we have to examine this concept of who we are. When we begin to totally feel all right about ourselves, the meaning of the word I begins to change. I no longer means the body of us. I means energy, awareness, and willpower. Soon we gain the total truth that we are living in the body, but we are not the body we live in. Examine the word I and honestly see what it means to you. So Nanyar, who am I? Famous meditation. Second topic, continuing the series of 64 character qualities from a character building workbook. Continuing in the C's here. Cautiousness is the 8th character quality. How would you define cautiousness? The workbook gives this definition. Cautiousness means being careful and wary. I cultivate cautiousness by approaching activities thoughtfully, avoiding mistakes and danger by taking into account what could go wrong. Its opposite is recklessness. And then Gurudeva's quotes. Today's world is not all that bad, but children must be taught how to live in it. What to be wary of, whom to trust, whom to befriend and marry, how to proceed in business, social life, education, career, upscaling, religious life, and on into the raising of their own family. Maybe at some time a whole bag of good apples will make a bad apple good, but so far it hasn't occurred. Till such a time we have to be wary of a natural law of nature and live among others of virtuous character and conduct, others who share spiritual insights and seeking. Reflection. Take a moment to identify a few environments in which you could be more cautious. And the third topic, as usual, is quotes from Yoga Swami's words of our master. This is a profound one. Nothing is lost, nothing is gained. What does that mean to you? One answer is, at the deepest level of our being, there is no change. That which changes is the externals of consciousness. So from the time we're born to the time we die, the deepest part of us, nothing has changed. So that's important to keep in mind. Change is important, but it's not the deepest reality. To someone who is cleaning the garden, when you clean the garden, you also clean your mind. What does that mean to you? Probably never thought of that one. Come in, come in. Please come in. Have a seat. I've got 2 minutes here. Next event just arrived. Okay, what does that mean to you? Well, somehow, clearly, the external and the internal are tied together. And what we do in the world is influencing our state of mind. So as an example, I remember Gurudeva once was weeding in the garden, something he didn't do that often, and he commented that he was actually straightening out the karmas. To him, what he was doing had nothing to do with weeds. He was straightening out the karmas. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh. Om.